A concise description of Cross Reverie is provided, and Takuma Sakamoto presents himself along with his MMO character Diablo as the true demon lord within the game. Suddenly, he is transported to a different world in the role of his MMO character, and his summoners promptly kiss him on both cheeks. Surprised by his situation, Diablo's summoners, an elf and a Pantherian, argue over who was responsible for his summoning. Each believes they acted as the sole summoner, having adhered to the ritual guidelines that included the kiss. Once he discovers this, Diablo is left amazed that he received kisses and regrets not savoring the moment more. As the two summoners persist in their dispute over who brought Diablo forth, they inadvertently inform the inquisitive Diablo that he is situated atop a towering structure known as the Starfall Tower. Approaching the arguing women, Diablo realizes that he has never truly communicated with anyone throughout his life, placing him in a challenging situation. Consequently, Diablo resolves to embody his MMO character and speaks to the two in a condescending tone, commanding them to shake hands and smile. Although they are initially reluctant, an overwhelming force compels the two to comply with Diablo's directive. After this command is carried out, slave collars materialize around the necks of both summoners, leaving all three of them in disbelief. At the base of the tower, the group discusses the unsuccessful ritual. During the conversation, Diablo recognizes that his Demon Lord ring reflected the enslavement spell back onto those who attempted to enslave him. Explaining to his summoners that magic holds no sway over him, they set off toward the nearby town to lift the enslavement spell affecting them. The elf, acknowledging that she and her companion have yet to introduce themselves to Diablo, names herself Shara L. Greenwood, an aspiring adventurer. Her partner, the Pantherian, identifies herself as Rem Gallo, who seeks to sharpen her skills as an adventurer. As Diablo is categorized as a rare summoned entity, he dismisses the label, not wanting to unveil his status as a recluse, and asserts that he is a demon lord. Shara is taken aback and impressed to learn that she summoned a demon lord, which irritates Rem, igniting yet another clash between the two. Diablo interrupts them with a sharp retort. Reaching their destination of Faltra City, they check in at the Peace of Mind Inn, where they are welcomed by the cheerful innkeeper May. Feeling nauseous from being in what he deems a large crowd, Diablo is further taken aback when Shara expresses her desire to register a room that's shared with him. This is primarily due to their financial constraints, and Rem interjects, urging that Diablo stay in her room since she is the one who summoned him. A disagreement arises between the two, and they are interrupted by May, who threatens to evict them. It is then disclosed that the three of them will occupy a room with one bed. Pondering his situation regarding the single bed, a woman familiar to Rem, named Celestine Baudelaire, and her two companions enter the room. Diablo remembers her name, and Shara explains that Celestine is the leader of the Mages Association. Recalling that Celestine, or Celis as she prefers to be called, is a key character in the Cross Reverie game, Celis originally intended to converse with Rem, but upon noticing the slave collars on both Rem and Shara's necks, as well as Diablo's presence, she expresses her intrigue about their circumstances. That night at the inn's cafeteria, Celis is updated on everything pertaining to the unsuccessful enslavement ritual. She's also informed that Diablo cannot undo the enslavement placed upon them. After Celis realizes she will need to start her research from scratch to find a way to remove the slave collars around Shara and Rem's necks, Diablo questions her assertively about her intentions with them, which provokes a reprimand from one of her followers named Gallic. Although Diablo feels intimidated by Gallic internally, he responds with a menacing retort, which annoys Gallic and earns him a reprimand from Celis as well. The conversation then shifts briefly to Celis and Rem, who declines the offer of additional bodyguards despite Celis's good intentions. With that matter settled, Celis's group departs for the evening, and Diablo inquires of Rem about her association with Celis. Rem declines to discuss it, leading Diablo to have a realization that Rem's secret is tied to a crucial main story event, which should be learned in advance to prevent a disaster. Seizing Rem and hoisting her onto his shoulder, Diablo takes her back to their room to torture her. Back in their room, Diablo torments Rem in a playful and innocent way until she ultimately admits her secret to him. Rem discloses that she has the Demon Lord Krebsholm sealed inside her body, and Diablo remembers the Demon Lord as the most formidable boss in the game, indicating that she desires to free and eradicate Krebsholm's soul from her body. Diablo then explains that doing so would result in Rem's death in the process. Moreover, he infers that Rem's relationship with Celis is linked to this ambition of hers, and that Celis is the only one aware of Rem's situation. The sealing of the Demon Lord is also hereditary, since Rem's mother had Krebsholm sealed within her body before passing away. Fully conscious of Rem's situation, Diablo pledges to assist Rem, which makes her emotional as Diablo promises not to abandon her due to her condition. Afterward, Diablo embarks on a trip around the town while pondering how he has accomplished everything all by himself due to his nature. Eventually, he is approached by Galuk and his colleagues from the Mages Association. This results in a confrontation between Diablo and Galuk, who summons a level 30 salamander. While Galuk brags and threatens Diablo regarding his summon, Diablo observes that although it is impressive, its level is far too weak. The salamander then releases a burst of fire at Diablo, who emerges from it unharmed. In a state of panic, Galuk commands his summon to incinerate Diablo, and the salamander unleashes a massive flamethrower-like attack from its mouth. However, that attack continues to have no effect on the level 150 Diablo. Equipping his wand, Diablo then casts Explosion, which obliterates the salamander. Approaching the bewildered Galuk, who demands to know who Diablo is, Diablo responds that he is a Diablo, a demon lord from another world. Awakening in the Peace of Mind Inn, Diablo comes to the realization that his experiences from the day before were not merely a dream. Diablo then finds himself in an uncomfortable position in bed with the two women. Later that day, while strolling through the streets, Diablo observes the various races that inhabit the world. He notes that in the area they are walking, no humans can be seen, to which Rem responds that the district they are in is exclusively for demi-humans, and then inquires if levels serve as the primary measure of strength in this world. Shara affirms this, but admits she has not yet discovered her level, while Rem asserts that she is a level 40 summoner. The place they are currently headed to, the Adventurers Guild, should be capable of revealing Shara's level once she registers there. At the Adventurers Guild, a confrontation between two beastmen unfolds, and the overall environment makes Diablo anxious. Without wasting any time, the trio makes their way to the second floor to register as adventurers. Since he cannot read, Diablo has Shara complete his registration, stating that he detests tedious and insignificant tasks, while Shara relishes the idea as it strengthens her position as his true master. However, the situation becomes more complex when a blood seal is required as the final step. Although feeling nervous about this, Diablo maintains a brave demeanor and, as he sees it, makes a slight cut on his thumb. Conversely, his small cut ends up being deeper than he had expected. Next, the group stands in front of a mirror that evaluates their levels. Shara discovers she is level 30, much to her disappointment, and then Diablo steps up, prompting a chaotic reaction from the mirror. This outburst draws the attention of the guild master Sylvie, who invites the trio into her office. Inside the office, Sylvie explains that due to Diablo's high level, there are no available job requests for him. However, Diablo expresses his willingness to work simply for the rewards. Consequently, Sylvie assigns the group the task of subjugating a Madara snake in the man-eating woods. On their way to the woods, the group discusses the job they've been assigned and the belief that its requester was Celis from the Mages Association. The conversation then shifts to Diablo suggesting they should have utilized a teleport spell or item to reach their location, although he notes that no such options exist. Finally arriving at the man-eating woods, Diablo observes the grim appearance of the woods in comparison to the game. Just at that moment, Shara explains that they are encircled, prompting Diablo to cast Burst Rain, igniting a portion of the woods and forcing the ambushers to reveal themselves. The ambushers turned out to be elves, one of whom Shara recognized as Celsior, who asserts he is there to save her. Celsior aims his bow and arrow at Diablo, while insisting he free Shara, the princess of the Kingdom of Greenwood. Asking why the elves would request assistance at the Adventurers Guild through the Mages Association. This leads Diablo to deduce that only one individual could have arranged this situation. Shara expresses her feelings, stating she does not wish to marry her brother and have his child. A back-and-forth argument ensues between Shara and Celsior, prompting Diablo to retaliate against the elves, who shoot a volley of arrows at him, but they prove ineffective. Celsior then employs what is known as a Tempest Arrow and directs it at Diablo, but that too fails to affect him. Unimpressed by the elves' antics, Diablo casts Freesia, freezing the surrounding area in ice. Suddenly, Galuk appears and admonishes the elves, only to be scolded by Diablo and chastised by Rem. Upset, Galuk flees the situation, and Shara commands the elves to tell her brother that she will never return home. With their business concluded at that location, they head back to the inn. That evening in their room at the inn, Shara and Diablo share a heartfelt conversation that is interrupted by an angry Rem. Diablo and the group gather in Sylvie's office, where she assigns them a special task that was specifically commissioned for Diablo. The request was submitted by Celis and is thought to be connected to one of her subordinates' recent misconduct towards the group. Rem expresses her reluctance to accept it because she owes a debt to Celis, but Diablo remains adamant that he will go with or without Rem. Once this is resolved, Shara reads the quest details, which involve a straightforward delivery assignment, requiring them to deliver refreshments to the Bridge of Ulug. Just as Diablo and the others are about to depart from the Adventurers Guild, a man called Emile halts them and confronts Diablo. With an air of arrogance, Emile introduces himself as a superhuman level 50 warrior and challenges Diablo to a duel. While Diablo finds Emile's personality impressive, he assumes his game persona and mocks Emile. In response, Emile proclaims his love for all women and declares that he will rescue the enslaved Rem and Shara from Diablo. Without wasting any time, Emile employs the sword ability, Sword Smite, against Diablo, but he counters the strike with his wand. For his following move, Emile attempts another sword skill known as Alp's Fall, but Diablo knocks him out before he can execute it. Reflecting on the differences in skill levels of individuals in the world compared to the original game, getting back up, Emile attempts to assault Diablo again, only to be halted by Rem and Shara, who explain their circumstances to him. Now aware of the entire situation, Emile laughs it off and apologizes for his previous conduct. He reintroduces himself, stating that if they ever require assistance, they should not hesitate to reach out to him. And then he cheerfully walks away. Afterward, Diablo and Shara, with the quest items, proceed to the Bridge of Ulrug, and during their journey, Shara proposes they take a swim in a nearby river. Embarrassed by the suggestion, Diablo dismisses that idea, and they move on. Upon arriving at the Bridge of Ulug, they are halted by a group of soldiers who mistake Diablo for a fallen. However, one soldier named Boris recognizes him as the Horned Demon. The two then discover from Boris that a fallen with a large legion of demons is approaching. Observing that this kind of event never took place in the games, Diablo reflects on what might have caused it. Additionally, Diablo remarks that since the soldiers stationed at the bridge have such low levels, the demons would breach the bridge. Conversely, the demonic intruders wouldn't be able to harm Faltra City due to the barrier established there. Shara remarks that the invasion might be connected to the demons seeking to resurrect Krebskulm, and Diablo concludes they must be aware of Rem's seal. The soldier Boris then presents Diablo a note of thanks for their delivery, and after noticing Boris's distress, Diablo offers to remain and repel the invasion. At the inn, Celis informs Rem that she has expelled Galuk due to his recent behavior. The conversation subsequently shifts to Diablo's past and how Celis is doubtful of him being a fallen rather than a demon lord from another world. Rem counters that assertion, defending Diablo as not being a fallen. Just then, a frantic Galuk bursts onto the scene with his hands stained in blood, insisting on hearing from Celis that he was not dismissed from the Mages Association. Right as Galuk was about to stab himself with a black demonic dagger, Rem attempts to intervene by summoning a shadow snake. This effort fails, as Galuk still manages to impale himself and then morphs into the fallen Gregor. Meanwhile, Diablo continues to battle against the demon invaders until he is confronted by the demon commander named Edelgard, and the two engage in combat. Refugees enter Faltra City under the impression they will be safe from the approaching demon invaders, thanks to the barrier that Celis established over the city. Unbeknownst to them, she finds herself in a difficult situation due to her former subordinate Galuk, who has transformed into a fallen named Gregor. Rem and Celis flee from the Peace of Mind Inn, and when they reach a dead end, Gregor confronts them and Rem calls forth Asalau. However, the summoned entity is quickly defeated with a single blow. From above, Emile descends near Rem and Celis, while a large group of adventurers arrives to assist them. Emile then engages Gregor in battle, but despite being overpowered by his adversary, he continues to fight stubbornly, adhering to his creed as a protector of all women. Meanwhile, at the Bridge of Ulug, Diablo's fight with Edelgard persists. Pointing out the pointless nature of Edelgard's assaults against him, she prepares to unleash Sacrifice Charge on Diablo, but it proves ineffective. Shocked that her special attack had no impact, Edelgard is mocked by Diablo, who remarks that her strike is the first time he has experienced damage since arriving in that realm. Just then, Boris informs Diablo that Faltra City has been invaded by a fallen and is attacking Celis and Rem. Recognizing the serious predicament, Diablo begins to conjure a grand magic spell and cautions Edelgard to retreat or he will unleash it. Conversely, Edelgard stands her ground. Thus, Diablo casts White Nova, which obliterates the nearby area, including the demon forces. Although gravely injured, Edelgard survives the spell, and without wasting a moment, Diablo employs the magic spell known as Return. At that point, Gregor has already overcome the adventurers surrounding him, and a severely injured Emile refuses to acknowledge defeat. Just then, Diablo arrives and casts a wind spell at Gregor, propelling him backward. Before commencing his battle with Gregor, Diablo expresses gratitude to Emile for his efforts. He then bestows healing energy upon Celis to treat Emile's injuries before turning his attention to Gregor. Opening the confrontation, Gregor casts Dark Bullet, but Diablo's ring instantly deflects the spell back at him. Diablo then launches his own Dark Bullet spell. In retaliation, Gregor casts Dark Press. However, that maneuver is reflected back onto him, and Diablo subsequently casts several Dark Press spells of his own. The gravitational force from the attack pins Gregor down, who then pleads for mercy, but Diablo remains unyielding. He ultimately finishes Gregor off with the magic spell Naraku. With the battle concluded, Shera embraces Diablo tearfully, and Rem grasps his hand, thanking him for her rescue. Attempting to maintain his persona, Diablo asserts that the sole reason he helped Rem is that she is his due to the slave collar around her neck. Eventually, the casualty figures resulting from the assault on the city are published, and most of the fatalities were adventurers. 10 days post-attack on the city, Diablo is lying on his bed and is almost approached by Shera, who is subsequently interrupted by Rem with a dropkick. This action prompts the two to cling to Diablo's arms until Sylvie enters their room. She informs the group that the City Lord has been given a non-negotiable demand to surrender Shera within 10 days or face war. Therefore, the City Lord and Sylvie urge Diablo to avert the conflict from happening.